Donald Trump has been warning about voter fraud since he got elected back in 2016. Even though he won, he still said there was a lot of voter fraud. Well, throughout the years, journalists have said over and over again, there is no evidence of widespread voter fraud. And you know what? Honestly, that's probably a fair assessment. No evidence of widespread voter fraud. And I wonder why that is. Well, as I've discovered, journalists have a very serious and terminal lack of curiosity when it comes to very important stories, notably the Biden laptop scandal. For some reason, they ain't talking about that one. Well, now we actually have some evidence, some very serious evidence from Project Veritas in what they say is their biggest story ever. In the first hour and a half or so of this video being published from Veritas, they got like 700,000 views. This is a video of a woman straight up admitting that she is breaking federal and state law, swinging votes, trying to shuffle them around different post offices, bringing 7,000 or more ballots for her paymasters, as Project Veritas says. In a video from Veritas, you see her change a senior citizen's vote from Republican to Democrat. Now, the story is very strange. I watched this. I was quite confused. I mean, the woman apparently works for a Republican, and she's going around changing votes to Democrat, I believe, except for the guy she's working for, maybe to make it seem more realistic. She's getting people to vote for Democrats in one of the most critical elections. And while many people might say 7,000, that's a lot of ballots, but is it really that big a deal? Is this the evidence we need of voter fraud? Yes, 7,000 is a big deal. According to the Washington Post, Donald Trump won the Electoral College thanks to 80,000 swing votes in several key states. That's right. Trump won by very thin margins in many different states. So I wonder why it is that there is no widespread evidence of voter fraud like we see with Project Veritas. This woman, Raquel Rodriguez, is teaching a man how to break the law. That's apparently the premise of this investigation. Veritas says that they paid $500 to go on a ride along with her to see how she does these illegal things. It would seem, in one instance where the man, the journalist for Veritas, says, we want to replicate or copy this. My understanding is he is paying this woman to teach him how to break the law so that he can do it. In fact, this woman implicates another woman. Now, this other lady seems to be a bit smarter and is like, no, I didn't do anything illegal. But this lady, apparently $500 was her number, and she's going to spill the beans on how to break the law and get away with it. Now you need to realize, if one person committing voter fraud can swing 7,000 ballots, 7,000 votes, and Trump won by 80,000, think about this for the Democrats that may be watching. Share this with Democrat friends. Think about how 8 people, okay, let's be fair, let's say 7,000, right? Okay, 10 people, just get 10 people around this country in swing states could have gotten Trump that election. And for the Republicans, 10 people could steal it from him. This is not about Republican, Democrat. This lady's working for a Republican. This is an indictment of this Republican. Veritas is exposing a Republican. Now, it's just dirty politics. This is about whether or not our elections are going to be safe and secure. And we have a pathetic journalism class in this country that won't actually look into this. They have no curiosity, probably because, well, the story's bad for the political establishment for whom they serve. Is it? Well, let's read the story from Project Veritas. I'll show you. I'll break this down to the best of my ability about what's going on. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There are many ways you can give. There's a P.O. box if you want to send me some stuff. But the best thing you can do is share this video. And honestly, watch the Veritas video. I'm not going to get into every little nitty-gritty detail that Veritas covers. I just want to break down the most important points and show you the greater context. People saying they want to change their votes. We got one story of a postal worker being charged for dumping ballots. We're going to talk about what's going on and why this is so serious. Our elections are not secure. Okay? Now, I should rephrase that. They're mostly secure. But we have to deal with this voter fraud. Because even if it is 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, 100 people across this country where we have hundreds of millions, they can swing elections and they're getting paid to do it. Share this video if you think that's important. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Let's read from Project Veritas, which opens with a very powerful statement. Raquel Rodriguez, consultant for GOP House candidate Mauro Garza. That's illegal. I could go to jail. I'm a little apprehensive to tell. Texas ballot chaser pressures voter to change vote from Cornyn to Hager. That's my job. I can honestly say I'm bringing at least 7,000 votes to the polls. Said Garza gave her $2,500 in gift budget. Giving people gifts to sway their vote is illegal. Why is a Republican giving thousands of dollars in a gift budget to a ballot chaser who is going to seniors and swinging their votes? Now, I got to admit, I don't know why a Republican's hiring a woman to swing votes for Democrats. Don't ask me. But she does say in the video from Veritas that she tells them to vote Democrat except for Garza. Maybe because the idea is make it seem realistic, right? Maybe. I don't know for sure. But you may be wondering, Cornyn and Hager, just assuming many of you don't know. John Cornyn is the current member, he's senator from Texas. He assumed office December 2nd, 2002. His current term ends January 3rd, 2021. He is expected to win easily. They say he's going to win, right? But he is running against MJ Hager. She is running for the election in U.S. Senate to represent Texas. She's on the ballot in the general election, November 3rd, 2020. She advanced from the primary on July 14th, 2020. Now, according to Ballotpedia, they don't expect her to win. But think about how few votes, okay? Donald Trump will be president thanks to 80,000 people in 3 states from the Washington Post, December 1st, 2016. And I'll go through this. I do want to show you the voter fraud stuff first. Just think about how serious this is, these 7,000 votes. I mean, she can swing an election. She could give the Senate to the Democrats. For what reason? Don't ask me. Establishment politics, perhaps. Cash money in the bank. Here's the story. Project Veritas undercover journalists infiltrated a ballot harvesting racket deep in the heart of Texas in a devastating report released today. Quote, "We keep hearing voter fraud is a myth, and anyone who challenges that notion is simply creating hysteria," said James O'Keefe, the founder and CEO of Project Veritas. "I wanted Texas to be part of the Project Veritas investigation into election fraud and to be on the ground with our undercover journalists. Our journalists discovered a voter fraud system positioned to swing Texas in 2020. These so-called ballot chasers use a mix of gifts and coercion to work down their list of targeted voters and make sure they vote for their paymasters," he said. "The actions violate both federal and state law and constitute a direct threat to the integrity of our election-based republic." One of the capos in this ballot racketeering operation is Raquel Rodriguez, nominally a political consultant for GOP House candidate Mauro E. Garza, the owner of the San Antonio's Pegasus nightclub, which is located on the Main Avenue Strip. Raquel says, quote, "I can honestly say I'm bringing at least 7,000 votes to the polls." The journalist asks, 7,000? And that's for San Antonio, for this area too. It's a lot. Rodriguez says, "That's a lot. It's a lot, period. Just so you know, have an idea. This is what I do." Rodriguez pressures voter to change her vote from Cornyn to Hager. Rodriguez said she develops personal relationships with senior citizens when she harvests their ballots and then uses different post offices so that the bundles do not draw suspicion. Quote, "So if y'all are my seniors, I'm literally picking you up. I'm going to your house. You're doing your ballot," she said. "I go throughout the entire city. I have a bunch of them. What I do if I have a bunch of them, I take 20 ballots here, 30 ballots here, 40 ballots here." At one point during the investigation, one Project Veritas journalist paid $500 to accompany Rodriguez on her rounds to collect ballots. In an exchange recorded with a hidden camera by Project Veritas journalist, Rodriguez literally examined a woman's ballot and convinced her to change her vote from Cornyn to Hager. Quote, you can vote for whoever you want. But our conversation that we had, you said you were voting for Hager because you were going straight Democrat. You said you're voting straight Democrat per our conversation. So that's when you're voting for the straight Dem because that's what you want to do, correct? In the video, Rodriguez shows the woman how to correct the ballot so it looks like an accident by crossing out the line for Cornyn and putting her initials next to the line. You're going to dot that in. And the line goes like this. And then your initials are going to be right here. So that way they know it was done accidentally. Journalist says, so John Cornyn, she voted for John Cornyn and you made her. That's my job. After the voter, air quotes, corrected her ballot, Rodriguez presented her with a shawl as a gift. Rodriguez said Garza gave her a gift budget of $2,500 for his campaign. And in addition to the shawls, she gives voters rosaries, diabetic socks, and wallets. Sometimes, the ballot chaser said, she hosts parties at a bar for her voters. Some of them former inmates recruited by her colleague, Tommy Acosta. Tommy does what's called like barbecues. So like an example, this coming Thursday at a bar, we're going to feed 45 ex-felons that we registered because they're going to all vote. The parties are thrown after everyone votes, she said. Quote, so guess what we're going to do? We're taking them to a bar to go eat. Okay, I got some people to go to the bar and guess what? I had to effing take them beer. I was like, are y'all going to come and vote or not? And they were like, we're going to meet you right now. I said, come meet me because when you get to the bar, I'm going to have a bucket of beer for y'all to drink. I just took care of it. Just said your bucket is there. Later, Rodriguez told Project Veritas journalist she was worried about what the other undercover journalists saw. Quote, what I do picking up those ballots when he was with me, that's illegal. I could go to jail. I'm a little apprehensive to tell anybody what I'm effing doing. You know what I'm saying? And again, once he works with me once, he's going to say, the journalist then says, I guess Trump was right and laughs. She says about doing stuff illegal. He says, I'm sorry about doing stuff illegal. Yeah, they just said he was full of S. Oh, hell no, he's not. It's true because you're not supposed to do that. This woman admits straight up what she's doing. It's on camera what she's doing. Let me break it down for you. When you go to an elderly person and you talk to them, hey, here's what you got to vote. You got to vote, right? You're going to vote for this person. Don't you want to vote straight Democrat? Here's the ballot. They get to vote. And then she looks at it and says, no, you wanted to vote Democrat, right? Don't vote for him. And the lady says, okay, I guess. Now here's your present. You can't do this. This is illegal. They're manipulating the elderly to get those votes. Don't ask me why. I don't care what their motives are. This is a story about a Republican hiring a woman to swing votes to help himself. But it also has him swinging votes towards the Democrats. Again, motivations, I'm not here to determine what that is. Just to tell you that we have hard evidence of voter fraud brought forth by Project Veritas. Now, the incurious journalists will probably ignore it. They won't cover it. They won't talk about it. This, in my opinion, is what the establishment Democrats and Republicans have often been doing. I mean, look, that's just my opinion. That, Trump talks about voter fraud. They say, where's the evidence? Well, if the journalists would do their jobs, maybe we'd have evidence. But here you go. And it's more than one person. Veritas says, meet Joanne Ramon. Rodriguez had another ballot chaser working in Bexar County as Joanne Ramon. All the apparent law breaking is all part of the job. Along with her relationship with Ramon, she said, she calls me and I chase the ballot. Another Project Veritas journalist spoke to Ramon about her ballot chasing and how she understands it is illegal for someone working for a campaign, such as Rodriguez, who is paid by the Garza campaign to collect the ballots. Now, Joanne says, I'm not going to jail. She's like, you want to go to jail? Because I'm not. She's like, she can't chase ballots. She can't. She goes on to say, like, I stop where you can't do it. This lady knows straight up, you do not admit to breaking the law in this way. There are laws for this. We've caught it. Now think about it this way. These people who are breaking the law to manipulate the elderly to get votes, they're like roaches. You see one. How many more are lurking beneath the surface you don't see? That is what's truly freaky about this. And I tell you what, man, Project Veritas found a Snapchat video. They published this about a guy in Minnesota laughing while holding a bunch of ballots. Now they say, oh, it's fake news. Veritas is fake news. Oh, they try. What are you going to do here? The lady's saying she does it on camera. You watch her do it. These are trying times, man. To Project Veritas, I know they're going to try and smear him. They already give him a negative marking on NewsGuard saying it's fake news. Well, actually, to be fair, they say Project Veritas does not repeatedly publish false content. They just think they're not responsible, but it's not false content. All right. You got a video from Veritas showing exactly what it is. Shouldn't this be enough? This is serious stuff. She goes on to mention other people. I mean, he's named several people already. Veritas goes on to name all of the laws that are being broken here. Now, will this swing Texas? I don't know. But I want to show you this story from the Washington Post. They say 3 weeks plus after Election Day, There are still more votes to count in California than were cast in each of the 9 states and D.C. Most of the votes have been slowly counted in the state have been for Hillary Clinton, giving her a 4.1 million vote lead in that state. That's powering her 2.5 million vote lead nationally. It takes Donald Trump's margins in the 7 states where he saw the biggest vote advantages to make up Clinton's lead in California alone. But of course, none of this matters. All that matters is that Trump got more electoral college votes thanks to having won more states. In many cases, those wins were much more narrow than Clinton's, which also helps power the gap between the electoral vote and the popular vote. Trump won 18 states by fewer than 215,000 votes, Clinton 13. The most important states were Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Trump won those states by 0.2, 0.7, and 0.8 percentage points, respectively. They go on to say that's 10,704, 46,765, and 22,177 votes. Those 3 wins gave him 46 electoral votes. If Clinton had done 1 point better in each state, she'd have won the electoral vote too. That's it. 10,000 votes, 1 Donald Trump. Michigan, 10,000. You take 2 Raquel Rodriguez's and drop them in any one of these cities, and they will flip that. Now, again, if you're a Democrat, if you want Biden to win, realize Donald Trump could win based off 2 people pulling off what this lady is pulling off. 2 people. And if you're voting for Trump, think about that. Trump could lose if 2 people do what she has done. Listen, I understand. It's already illegal what she is doing. So what do we do about it? Investigate, seek these people out, ask seniors, investigate, treat it seriously, look for evidence. Do not let these people get away with that. Right now, in Texas, we've got the early and absentee vote report. Republicans are crushing it in the Senate race. I don't think this lady is going to swing the race away from John Cornyn, but she's trying to get this guy, Mauro Garza, a victory. And he is a Republican. This should be warning signs for you, liberals, Democrats. You see why I'm talking about these things? We need to maintain principles and integrity. And just because Trump says there's voter fraud doesn't mean there isn't. You don't have to like Trump to recognize this is a problem if a Republican is hiring someone to try and cheat the election. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know what his relationship is. Maybe this lady's making it all. Maybe she's lying about this poor, innocent Republican. Isn't this enough to talk to tell regular people? I don't care what your political party is. And they like to rag on Veritas. Oh, they only go after the left and the left. He just caught a Republican who's hiring this lady to try and help him win. And yes, she's changing votes to Democrat. I'm not going to tell you what her motivation is. I don't know. But this is a Republican paying for it. Listen, I tell you, I warn you. Democrats, you will reap what you have sown. Check out this tweet from Eric Holder. It says some or all of the content shared in this tweet is disputed and might be misleading. This tweet from Eric Holder is actually censored by Twitter. You have to bypass this censorship block to read it. Here's what he said. It's too late to use the mails. Given Supreme Court rulings, I urge everyone to now vote in person. Early vote or use drop boxes. Protect your health, but don't let the court and the deliberately crippled Postal Service deprive you of your most precious civil right. Plan your vote. He's right. Eric Holder is right. Vote in person. Drop your ballot off in person. Twitter censored him for it. Why? Shouldn't this be the biggest red flag to the left, to Democrats? Shouldn't this story be something Democrats want to share? I think tribalism is plaguing our nation. Eric Holder, Obama administration, is telling you right now, you need to go vote in person. And Twitter is censoring this. You can't make this stuff up. You really can't make this stuff up. We got the story. The USPS is put to the test by Fox News ahead of the 2020 election. They found a 2.2% failure rate in their test. This is similar to what we saw, I think, from ABC, and it's similar to what was reported 8 years ago by the New York Times. It is nearly double the failure rate of traditional in-person voting. 2%, not a whole lot, but that can swing an election. You know, the left, they say the Republicans are suppressing the vote. And the right says that the Democrats are cheating and getting dead people to vote. Whatever, fine, I don't care. Listen, we want to make sure everyone gets to vote, regardless of your political party. A 2.2% failure rate is unacceptable in my opinion. but there's going to be one. I don't know what we do, how we solve this problem. Sometimes mail just doesn't get delivered. And in this case, it may be a ballot. So Eric Holder is correct. Drop off your ballots in person. Everyone, I don't care if you're voting for Biden, Jill Stein, or whoever is running, Donald Trump, drop your ballots off in person or vote in person. Take your vote seriously. We do not want people to be disenfranchised. We want your vote to count. But these people who are cheating, we got to watch out for them. We got to call it out when we see it. And Veritas has done just that. And now we got somebody else. Postal worker charged after dumping over 100 absentee ballots in Louisville construction site dumpster. Many people wanted to know, why did this guy do this? Why? Turns out it's just laziness. That seems to be the explanation. The guy just didn't want to deliver the mail. He was lazy, so he just chucked a big old bag of mail in the trash. Just chuck it into a dumpster. Well, now he's tampering with an election. What you need to understand about this story and why it's so important is that your ballot may get lost in the mail, not because some evil, nefarious fraudster, but because of general impropriety. I think it's important that we catch this voter fraud in what may be one of the biggest Project Veritas stories ever. I mean, that's what they're saying, too. But I don't understand why the media, why social media, and why so many Democrats for so long kept pushing this insecure method. And now it's likely going to hurt people. First-time voters and minority voters are likely to be the most impacted by this. These are the people who don't know how to fill this out properly, what to sign. And I'll tell you this. I kid you not. It's not straightforward. I recently voted by mail because I live in New Jersey, and they give you this ballot. There's 2 envelopes. I'm reading the instructions. I want to make sure I do it very, very carefully. You got to sign the thing. Then you got to sign the envelope. Then you got to potentially sign the back. I don't know. I don't want to get too much into that because I don't want to give any advice. I'm just saying it's not particularly easy. It's not super complicated. I'm just saying people who have not voted before might not realize what you actually have to do to vote properly. In which case, some people's votes are not going to be counted. Or you might have fraudsters changing people's votes to try and cheat, or you might have people throwing votes in the trash. But there is something you can do. All right, I want to give you the best information I can to help you fix your vote. Fox News said, "Can I change my vote? Trends on Google. What you need to know." They say more than 59 million Americans have already cast their ballot, and Google searches for the phrase, "Can I change my vote?" peaked Tuesday morning. Now, they do peak every election. One of the subregions where the phrase began trending was in Delaware. The state Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden represented the Senate in the Senate for 36 years. Other subregions include battleground states, Maine, Pennsylvania, Florida, Ohio, etc. While most states do not allow voters to change their early votes, there are some that do with restrictions. For example, in New York, if you have submitted an absentee ballot but change your mind, you can show up to your polling place during early voting or on election day and cast a vote, in which case the absentee ballot is set aside and not counted according to the state board of elections. Now, I want to point this out because they claimed Trump was encouraging people to vote twice, which was illegal. Trump said basically this. Well, Fox News says you can do it. It's state by state, though. In Michigan, voters who have sent in a ballot can submit a written and signed request to their voting clerk by 5 p.m. October 30th, requesting to have the ballot nullified, according to the Detroit Free Press. Minnesotans who mailed an absentee ballot had until October 20th to request a new ballot from their county or city election office. In New Hampshire, voters who submitted an absentee ballot can go to the polls on election day during the first hour they're open and vote in person or before their absentee ballot is processed. In Wisconsin, if time allows, a voter can cancel their original absentee ballot and request a new one, but they have until October 29th, the legal deadline. As of Sunday, the nearly 60 million Americans who have voted in the 2020 election suggest a record turnout this year. In 2016, 47.2 million early votes were cast in the presidential election, according to data from the U.S. Elections Project. Trump tweeted about the Google trend Tuesday morning and encouraged voters to go do it, claiming without evidence that the trend refers to changing it to me. Now, that's fair to say. I don't know if they're changing it to Trump, but I think they are. Pennsylvania was one of the biggest, and it was just after Joe Biden said he wanted to end the oil industry. So perhaps that is going to have a significant impact. We want everyone's votes to count. We don't want censorship. So make sure you look up what the rules are in your state for how your state is handling the votes. Make sure you're voting properly. And I'll end by saying, man, we've got multiple instances of voter fraud now captured by Project Veritas. You'd think that would be enough to generate some curiosity, no? Apparently not. Apparently not. You can say the Project Veritas videos are not conclusive. It's just people saying things, fine. But shouldn't that be enough to actually investigate and watch and track this stuff? The most important takeaway from this, and I want you to remember this one. They say there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. That's the word, widespread. You know why? Because there's ample evidence of voter fraud. And if one person can swing 7,000 votes, imagine what 100 people can do. Is 100 people across this country widespread? No, they'll tell you it's not. Because we have over 1,000 instances, according to the Heritage Foundation, of voter fraud. It's just not that significant. But what if you have 50 people, like this woman, bringing in 7,000 votes? That's going to change everything. And they know it. They know you can swing votes with a minority percentage. And they'll get away with it because we don't have journalists doing their jobs anymore. Save Project Veritas. They seem to be out there doing the work that needs to be done. Is it perfect? No. I will point out one quick thing that I noticed in the video that struck me as odd, but it could just be from, I'm not from Texas. In the video from Veritas, the woman, as she's changing this other woman's vote, calls her mom. I spoke to some people from Texas who said, they just might call an older lady mom, as a term of endearment. I did find that strange, but it doesn't negate the rest of the video. Just something I thought I'd point out, because maybe people from Texas are going to be like, that's totally normal, a normal thing. I'm from Chicago, so it wasn't normal to me. I thought it was worth mentioning, not that it changes the bulk of the story. The lady straight up says she's doing illegal things, and she's shuffling ballots around different post offices to get away with it. Now, here's the problem. We don't know who's going to win. There's reports now that I think the Colorado deadline is like November 12th for amended ballots. Yup, 12th. We're not going to have the results in. Now, I mean, look, maybe Trump wins by a landslide. Maybe Biden wins by a landslide, but I think it's going to be close. Even Joe Biden right now is saying in his ads, Trump is up in key states. It's a close race, and he's begging for cash because the Biden campaign is saying the polls are wrong. The pundits are wrong. Both Joe Biden and Trump's bases. Well, I don't know if Joe Biden has a base, but both Joe Biden's campaign and Trump's campaign are saying the polls are wrong. Then the polls are probably wrong, because if Joe Biden was really convinced he was going to sail through this and the polls were right, he would not be desperately raising money. But I'll warn you now, man, voter fraud. If we don't know who wins and this goes to the courts, you are going to see accusations of fraud from both sides flying like crazy. And is it wrong? This guy caught by Veritas was a Republican. Think about that. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimCastNews. It is a different channel from this one. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you there.